I just want to say that my previous series on Twin Peaks kind of, I worked to de-emphasize meaning as the overall theme of Twin Peaks. That was my initial take on it. And I clearly was wrong about that now. But paradoxically, also, I was sort of on the right track as the way to understanding Twin Peaks. And, you know, I'm going to prove it. So first, let's get into this gunas thing, because this is really important that you understand this. Once we understand this part, I'm going to show you, I'm going to explain exactly what we're seeing in the opening sequence of the original Twin Peaks television series. So, okay, so this great or three gunas model, okay, relates to three principles which are wholly linked to each other and are integral to the nature of this reality that we inhabit. Okay, so this is something that this is a model of the world, and you can let's just get into this, and you'll see the value here. So it's also worth knowing they can be this model can be understood in all kinds of ways, from the human level to the cosmic level and everything in between, from practical to theoretical. Okay, and they overlap with the Hindu Trimurti of Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, something I've talked about before on my channel. And so this universal idea, I'm going to explain. First I'm going to present this a little bit in the Western sense, but it's important that you try to understand a little bit of the Vedic philosophy. And, you know, reading the Upanishads appears to be the master key to understanding this idea. Why do I say that? Because Vedic thinking takes a systems approach or a holistic approach to reality, which perfectly reconciles, by the way, it perfectly reconciles spirituality, religion, and science. I know that's a bold statement, but it is what it is. So you may think that these Vedic references are unrelated to the topic at hand. Okay, what does this have to do with Twin Peaks? What kind of wackadoodle crap is this? Okay, just hold on here. Give it a chance. And, you know, it's going to seem to some people, it's going to seem completely unrelated, but to intuitives, you're going to see something here that's pretty remarkable. So the master key to understanding systems or holistic thinking is kind of opening up to the intuitive side of yourself. Okay, and this isn't just smoke and mirrors. You're really just moments away from having your brain completely melted if you can get your head around this simple idea of the three gunas and how this maps, how this is used in Twin Peaks quite brilliantly. So I don't take this as, definitely do not take this as some dusty philosophy subject just to be kind of like looked at from afar, but this is something to be applied. Okay. So really quick, I just want to point out how important this gunas, the three gunas are. And we have all sorts of deities around the world that are using this mysterious 3-in-1 association. Okay. I could make a separate series on this, and I may do so in the future, because when you see things as they really are, it's quite remarkable. Unless, of course, you insist on running some old programming, then there's nothing I can do for you. So, in the image on the left, we have a stone relief of Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, which are associated with this universal idea. And on the image on the right, and this is how I came to the realization of mapping the three gunas, was through this happy trio of deities. Also this is from a specific region in India, closely associated with Krishna. And left to right, these deities are Balbhadra, Subhadra, and Jagannath. And Jagannath, of course, is where we derive the word juggernaut. And I know that Balbhadra and Subhadra are also called different names, but that's the way it was shown to me. And I was invited to an event at the with the Krishna Consciousness Group And I saw that I was obsessed with these totems that they had, and they told me they were on loan from a temple somewhere, and it was a special thing, and they really made a big deal about it. And I thought, well, gosh, these are just some funny looking, but some sort of funny looking totems, but they just never left my mind, the significance of these totems, and now I really understand why, and it's quite interesting. So, really quick, you have Balhabra on the left. In his face is white, and he is one of the brothers, and Subhadra in the middle is the sister. Notice her face is yellow, and Jagannath, his face is black, and this is going to be very important. Now, both sets of deities are pointing at the same thing. So the Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, Trimurti, and then these three deities, the Balhabra, Subhadra, and Jagannath, are pointing at the same thing. And I'm going to show you exactly how David Lynch is pointing to this age-old Trinitarian model of the universe. And if you're wondering, yes, I can show ways in which the Trinity is the Trinity in the Western religious tradition is also related. Now, the way they interpret this Trinitarian view can be on many different levels. One of them is through time, space. It's really quite a complicated system, and it's quite elegant. Now, in order to get into the opening sequence of Twin Peaks, we have to go through each of these, and then I'm going to show you exactly how this maps, and you're going to be like, okay. At that point, your brain will either melt or you'll just move on to the next video. So the first of these three aspects is sattva. Sattva means truth or just being. So we can think of sattva as simply that which is. Okay, it's this eternal being, eternal light. In the Western way of dualistic thinking, when we shine the light on something, right, the truth is revealed. This conveys an important sense of purity or that which has not been corrupted, reduced, or decayed in any way. Okay. There are many ways to think about sattva. And one quick, obvious way is to think about light or radio waves or even the entire electromagnetic spectrum. Okay. We can think of it that way. And that's what I'm getting at in Twin Peaks. So the key word or concept to this whole thing with sattva, I just want you to remember one word, and that's transmission. The truth of existence can be uncovered with an understanding of the fundamental laws to which electricity, radio waves, and of course thought forms are part of this mysterious process of reality. So naturally, what comes to us from thought or from the thought form seemingly has some sort of message for us. There's some sort of pure message in there. Okay, something in the transmission that is communicating with us, and it's a message that, if worked with enough, or are treated as even pure and sacred, will reveal a certain truth about reality. So, transmission is the first word here. The second aspect we're talking about is rajas, and rajas means to glow, which is referring to a dynamic action or activation, okay? It sounds woo-woo, but it just represents a force of energy in motion. It can be expressed in many different ways, but for the purposes of explaining Twin Peaks, it's pointing us to a process called conversion. That's the second word. Remember that word or concept, because conversion is the key word associated with this second aspect. So we have transmission, conversion. So conversion is the process of taking a thought form, okay, that arrives or is transmitted in the mind from the transmission stage, and then converting it into something else through a certain level of conscious awareness. So David Lynch himself has remarked that he tries to stay true to the idea, which means he understands that it starts pure. The idea starts pure, and it wants... where he's honoring that idea to keep it as intact and pure as possible during the conversion process so that it isn't tainted so much. And more can be said on this, but maybe we'll talk about that another time. Just remember, transmission, And now we have conversion. So let's move on to the third one. The third and final aspect of this process is known as tamas, or tamas, or tamas. I'm not quite sure how that's pronounced. Tamas means to decline or perish, which is a force of inaction, or is otherwise referring to a finished material which has been passed through the other two previous phases. Okay, so tamas can be compared to the world of darkness and obscurity. We can also understand this to point at the physical world, a world which is ephemeral or temporary and in a state of constant change, hence the meaning to decline or perish. For the purposes of understanding Twin Peaks, tamas is pointing us at storage, or a finished object of art in the world. So the key phrase here is storage. So we have transmission, conversion, and storage. Now, like a painting like this one here on the left from Edgar Degas, or a sculpture, or in the case of like Twin Peaks, a film or a television recording, that's all storage. Okay? Now, the painting can only convey a sense of life, or it is a depiction of a scene that may have occurred at one point in time, but the painting itself represents essentially a dead object, which is in decline and will eventually perish. Now, compare the finished painting to the act of conversion, or the actual moments in which the painting was being created, and it is clear that this painting is a lifeless object, and the real reward of life is in the doing, not in the finished project. And also, you can see along the way with each slide, I have each of the three deities here. In this case, I have Jagannath, because Jagannath represents the finished world of tamas. And so we're going to get into this a little bit more, and then I'm going to show you exactly how to understand the opening scene of Twin Peaks.